Off southern Spain, fishermen haul bluefin tuna weighing up to 700 kilograms from churning seas, following a method 3,000 years old. Across the Atlantic, modern crews work longline stretching 30 kilometers through open ocean. They operate inside one of the deadliest fisheries on Earth, chasing a fish that once sold for over $3 million. But the true cost of that catch goes far beyond the auction floor. When a bluefin tuna strikes, the human body becomes the primary shock absorber. Hauling a fish that can weigh several hundred kilograms out of the water requires sheer physical force that pushes the human skeletal structure to its absolute limit. On the deck of a tossing vessel, there is no stable footing. Every wave that hits the hull shifts the center of gravity, forcing legs, lower backs, and shoulders to constantly adjust under extreme tension. The deck itself is a hazard of wet steel, slick scales, and heavy hydraulic machinery. In these tight spaces, a single slip while holding a high-tension cable can lead to crushing injuries or broken bones. But the danger is rarely a single dramatic moment. Instead, it is cumulative. Over a seasonal run of several months, crews work rotating shifts with minimal sleep. This chronic fatigue slowly degrades reaction times, turning routine tasks like baiting hooks or securing ropes into dangerous maneuvers. As the weather deteriorates later in the season, the economic pressure to secure the remaining quota prevents crews from heading to port. They work through worsening swells where the combined forces of freezing spray, wind, and shifting cargo test human endurance, balance, and muscular strength all at once. Survival on these decks depends entirely on split-second coordination and the collective resilience of the crew. In the coastal waters of southern Spain, Portugal, Sicily, and Morocco, fishermen preserve a 3,000-year-old seasonal ritual first established by the Phoenicians. Known as the almadraba in Spain, the almadraba in Portugal, and the tanara in Italy, this ancient method functions as an active, living fishing system. Every spring, from April to June, adult bluefin tuna migrate from the Atlantic Ocean into the Mediterranean Sea to spawn, passing close to the shoreline. Here, multi-generational crews construct a massive submerged labyrinth of nets anchored directly to the seabed. The trap operates through precise spatial logic. A long outer net wall positioned perpendicular to the shore intercepts the migrating fish and channels them into a series of corridors. The tuna pass through 9 distinct chambers that gradually narrow their path, concentrating the school as they swim. The fish eventually swim into the final compartment, known as the copo. This triggers the levanta, the coordinated raising of the net. Under the captain's command, crews on a fleet of wooden boats pull heavy ropes together, hoisting the net structure to bring the massive bluefin to the surface. This seasonal run shapes the life of entire coastal towns, from Barbate, Conil, Tarifa, and Zahara de los Atunes in Spain, to Sagres in Portugal, Capo Passero in Sicily, and Sidi Ifni in Morocco. From winter net mending and ceremonial boat blessings to fast-paced shoreside processing and summer festivals, this inherited knowledge sustains local economies and cultural identity across generations. Far from the coastal shallows, the pursuit of bluefin tuna shifts to the vast, open waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Here, steel-hulled longline vessels operate as self-contained industrial workplaces, undertaking isolated voyages that last between 30 and 45 days at a stretch. While traditional trap fishermen work within sight of land, these offshore mariners face the vast emptiness of the open ocean, where emergency help is days away. These vessels deploy a single, continuous mainline that can extend up to 30 kilometers across the open sea, replacing the stationary net systems used closer to shore. Spooled from massive hydraulic drums on the aft deck, this heavy cable suspends thousands of individual baited hooks at targeted depths where the bluefin feed. To coordinate this sprawling gear, crews rely on satellite-based global positioning systems, vessel monitoring services, and automatic identification transponders. This technology tracks the line's path across international boundaries in real time. Life on board is governed by a strict division of labor. The captain directs the vessel and manages strict quota compliance. The chief officer coordinates the physical setting of the line. Specialized deckhands handle the constant baiting, hauling, and quick icing of the catch. Under the relentless roar of the engines, this specialized crew operates in continuous rotating shifts, turning a seasonal hunt into a highly systematic floating factory. commercial fishing remains one of the most perilous professions in the world. National database records indicate that the overall fatality rate for commercial fishers runs at more than 28 times the national average for all other occupations. Within this high-risk industry, the distant water tuna fleet faces some of the most extreme conditions. Between 2006 and 2012, a study of this specific fleet recorded a fatality rate of 226 deaths per 100,000 full-time equivalent workers. Over that 6-year span, 14 workers lost their lives and 20 suffered severe injuries. Regional incident logs reinforce these broad statistics. Between 2000 and 2018, linked vessel records from Oregon and Washington documented 93 fatalities and 239 non-fatal injuries, with drowning accounting for 90% of the deaths. These figures reflect a systemic pattern of operational danger, where vessel instability, equipment failure, and falls overboard present constant hazards to crews working far from emergency medical assistance. This intense pressure has also exacted a heavy toll beneath the surface. The relentless pursuit of Atlantic bluefin tuna drove the species into a severe, long-term decline during the late 20th century. Decades of overfishing depleted the spawning biomass, pushing the species toward the brink of collapse. This ecological crisis forced international bodies to implement strict quotas and tighter management policies. While recent stock assessments show the first fragile signs of recovery, the progress remains highly vulnerable. The high market value of the catch keeps the incentives high, ensuring that the struggle for survival continues, both on the shifting decks and in the depths of the ocean. At Tokyo's Toyosu market, the economic engine driving this high-risk industry reaches its peak during the annual New Year's auction. In January 2026, a single 243-kilogram bluefin tuna sold for a record 510 million yen, approximately $3.2 million. Purchased by Kiyomura Corporation for the Sushi Zanmai chain, the price reached 2.1 million yen per kilogram. This bidding is not based on ordinary food economics. Instead, it is driven by corporate prestige, marketing, and the ceremonial status of securing the first fish of the year. Buyers compete for specimens with high fat content and prized otoro marbling, using the purchase as both a high-grade product and global publicity. This immense financial value cascades back across the oceans, establishing the deep incentives that push fishing crews to brave the most dangerous waters on Earth. Today, quota-based management is the defining condition of the bluefin fishery. Seasonal limits, gear restrictions, enforcement, and community-based management are no longer outside conservation ideals. They are the daily operating reality on the water. For historic coastal towns and modern offshore fleets, survival depends on remaining viable under these strict restraints. This regulatory framework forces fishermen to balance immediate profit against long-term ecological survival, keeping everyone in a state of constant tension. Tradition, economic necessity, and the limits of the ocean remain locked in an unresolved struggle, shaping every voyage. Today, the boundary between ocean conservation and human survival remains razor-thin. As global demand rises and quotas tighten, these mariners still risk everything in the deep sea. They are not just chasing profit, but sustaining a legacy on a changing planet. Share your thoughts in the comments below.